SCCA's National Championship Runoffs has long been a launching pad to professional careers for some, an annual pilgrimage for many, and a bucket list event just to compete in for all. This weekend, it is also a test extraordinaire, as for the contenders, Sonoma Raceway awaits.
Greetings and welcome to Sonoma Raceway, the site of the 55th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, and our coverage of the Runoffs presented by Mazda. Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Marine. Tom O'Gorman, two-time World Challenge champion, joining me in the booth. We'll be hearing from our pit reporter Hayward Wagner in a matter of moments, but briefly, Tom, this is the Runoffs. This is the big granddaddy of them all when it comes to amateur road racing. The nerves are huge as we get set to go with our Grand Touring Lite category.
Absolutely, yeah. Good morning, Ryan. Really excited to be here. The Runoffs really have almost this Olympics feel. These guys get one chance a year. It's a single race to come win the gold medal. A lot of these other series are a big, long championship buildup. You kind of know who the players are. We get 1 week to figure out who's going to be the winner, so it's got this electric energy. I'm thrilled to be here. These guys are raring to go. It'll be a lot of fun.
Should be a blast, absolutely. Well, let's get down pit side to get started covering some of the many storylines that we'll have throughout this 20-lap or 40-minute race, and Hayward's got a couple for us down pit side.
I do indeed. I'm with Troy Ermish, your pole sitter. Troy, you've had a bit of a challenging week. Can you talk about what you've gone through?
Yeah, we're always trying to run the thing on the ragged edge, and I just got away from me in turn 11, and we crashed it pretty good on Tuesday evening. Qualifying, so we had to go back home, and we had to scratch the second qualifying session, and we came back and put it back together well enough to sit on the pole, so it was pretty exciting.
So obviously qualifying ended well for you. You have a strategy for this race?
I learned in racing, there's no strategies.
So the funny thing about that, guys, is I just talked to Joe Huffaker, who's second on the grid. I asked him if he had a strategy for this race. He said he had about 15 of them. So we've got one guy who has no strategy, one guy who's got about 15. But I want to talk real quick about what we're going to see in this race. We have here our fourth qualifier, kind of the traditional full tube frame silhouetted car. We also have cars like this that started as a production car, that flared fenders, big wings, big motor. And then we have the cars that are still in production trim. That's what Joe Huffaker's driving here, an MG Midget NF production trim. And then our pole sitter here is kind of the ship in the bottle model. The roof, the A pillars, the B pillars, that's all Datsun 510. Everything below that is real race car. And this right here, this is the patchwork from the incident in Tuesday qualifying. They have no fiberglass molds for this car. Everything here is one-off custom, so they had to patch back together what they had. There's some real interesting cars and going to be a really interesting race.
Good stuff, Hayward. Thank you very much. And that's certainly one of the storylines, Tom, that we were talking about before we came on air. A diverse grid here in GTL. Lots of different cars from various eras, different ways of making power, different constructions of these cars, and that diversity makes this such a fun class.
Absolutely, and diversity is one thing, but these guys are tight. It is less than a tenth of a second between first and second for Ermish and Huffaker there at the front. Very, very different cars, as Hayward identified. The Datsun 510 on pole, that is true 100% race car. These guys can do sequential gearboxes. They can do a tube frame chassis if they want, but they can also keep the car pretty much in its production version like Joe Huffaker's car. He actually built one of those full tub frame Mini Coopers. It was a rear-wheel drive, cool Mini Cooper back in the GT5 days. They consolidated this whole class, and it ended up that his F production car and F production trim was faster. So he's here running that car. You look at the Taz Harvey there in third, and then Peter Zeckert all the way down through 11th, Bill Meyer. Those guys are super, super tight. I think we'll see cool battles all the way through the field there.
That should make for a fun race, that's for sure. Let's talk about that front row. Troy Ermish, we heard from him a moment ago, our tire rack pole sitter. This is a guy that is threatening to break his own track record that he set back in July, but he's got Joe Huffaker right on his tail. Two locals, and maybe no one more local than Joe.
Yeah, Joe Huffaker's shop, legendary shop here in SCCA Club Racing, legendary family in club racing, lots of national championships, lots of titles, but these guys, they operate their shop on property here at Sonoma Raceway, so I think home field advantage, even though Troy Ermish is also relatively local, San Francisco region member, he, I think, think Huffaker has the advantage on the home field, but I think the car advantage has to go to Ermish. We've seen that car has pace. Obviously, they had a little bit of a setback there with the accident in qualifying. He was actually on a flyer. We watched that happen in qualifying earlier this week, and then all of a sudden he just didn't come by. We found out that car was in the accident, so it'd be really cool to see how these two guys that race each other a lot race here for the championship.
Ermish was under his own track record, again, that he set back in July on Thursday. He's looking for a fast lap in the race to set the official class track record at Sonoma Raceway. 2 previous runoff appearances for Troy, both in GTL, a best finish of 2nd back in 2014. The last time the runoffs were out here on the West Coast, that was at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He was 5th in 2016 at Mid-Ohio, looking to build on that here. And then Joe Huffaker, we talked about it. It is a home track experience for Joe, his 9th time. He is a 9-time runoffs champion, I should say. He's running this car, as you mentioned, in both classes. Had a chance to talk with him, and he was surprised that Mini that he built with this class in mind just didn't have the pace when he ran it earlier in the summer, and figured, all right, what the heck, we've got a car that can do it. We know it can. It's just going to be a busy weekend for that car now.
Absolutely, and the main difference is just the minimum weight based on the power that the car makes and the way it's built. That car weighs more, actually, in GT Lite, I believe, than it does when it races in F production. We'll see that later as these cars rolling towards the track. But you talked track record really quick. He was under the track record for Troy Ermish by over 3 seconds than earlier in July this year. So these guys are moving.
Now, one thing to keep in mind with that track record is, of course, track conditions, temperature, a huge part of it as well. And they're racing now, presumably at a different time than they were on track earlier this weekend. And track conditions have certainly changed over the course of the weekend, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, SCCA does a really good job of making sure these cars qualify in the same order every day. And they make sure they're in the same time range, more or less, than when their race will be. So, in theory, it should be pretty close. We saw the Formula Continental track record drop already earlier this weekend. Around this time too, so the track should be pretty fast. I think as long as these guys aren't just stuck racing side by side the entire time, we'll see that track record fall pretty easily.
We might see them, though, battling throughout the race as close as they were through the 3 days of qualifying. We got a good look a moment ago at the beautiful pace car, the Trans Am pace car, the official safety car of these SCCA runoffs, 1,000 horsepower under the hood. That car looks like a blast. Are you dying to give that thing a whirl?
I got to move it from one spot in paddock to the other spot, about 10 feet, and I wanted to give it that blip of throttle, but I restrained.
Well done. I'm not sure I would have had that kind of restraint necessary for that. A couple other storylines to keep an eye on as the cars continue around on the pace lap, exiting that carousel turn number 6 and headed down the drag strip towards turn number 7. How about our 4th place qualifier, Peter Zeckert? This is a guy who is maybe more instrumental than any in ensuring that we have a healthy grid of 20 cars here for this 2018 version of the runoffs in this class.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a driver out of Missouri, St. Louis area, and he a big believer in this class. This car was actually one of my favorite childhood cars watching at Mid-Ohio with the runoffs, and this class had dropped under 10 cars at the runoffs. It was really struggling for car counts. Peter had a bunch of them sitting around, and he just started throwing keys to people and letting them come to the race, get the cars on track, get the class back to life. And like you said, now we have 20 cars here, starting with Peter Zeckert there in the 4th spot, like, as I already identified, down to the 11th spot. Those guys are covered by only about 2 seconds, so that race at the front's going to be good, but the race through the field's going to be really good.
Let's take a look at the starting grid, try and get through the top 10 here before we take the green flag. Troy Ermish on pole. Joe Huffaker will start to his outside. Taz Harvey and Peter Zeckert are row number 2. The 3rd row in 5th, Joe Harlan and Jonathan Goodale in the 6th spot. Charles Leonard in 7th, Roy Lopshire in 8th, Chris Dudson in the 9th position, and lining up 10th will be Chris Copley here today. Field looks to be in good order behind that Trans Am pace car, which should be pulling off track here very soon. There in the number 38, that's Ermish in the Nissan, and it's Huffaker in the MG Midget to the outside. That's left to right on the screen in front of you. 2 by 2 the cars as they come through turn number 12 and looking for the green flag up in the flag stand. Waiting for it. Patience in the start zone, and here we go. A good jump coming from that 2nd row. That's the number 45 of Zeckert making his way to the outside. We're side by side, 4 rows deep through the field, coming up through turn 1, now through turn number 2 into this twisting section, high elevation as they climb through the gears. up to the top of the hill, and coming out in front is Troy Ermish, your pole sitter. He'll lead the field. A nice clean start.
Yeah, really good work from Peter Zecker, too, coming from the second row up into the podium. Third spot right now, but it is Taz Harvey looking back to the inside. He's going to try to get back. Taz Harvey really looking to keep those two in their sights, but look at Ermish just kind of driving away in these first couple of corners.
A really good gap from him. It looks like 7 or 8 car lengths back to Joe Huffaker, who started to his outside. Are you a little surprised that that was the start we saw from Joe, as we got a battle for 5th a little bit deeper back?
Yeah, I think Joe probably, well, you said, Hayward said he's got 15 strategies, so we're seeing one of them unfold here, I'm sure.
There's the battle right there. We've got Taz Harvey in the number 8 machine, able to hold off Jonathan Goodale in the 04, at least for the moment. Goodale started back in 6th, and right now trying to fight his way up another position. Again, you look at the diversity of this grid, and it's apparent in all of our camera shots. Every kind of car you could imagine, it seems like, and with various configurations as well. It makes for a really compelling battle, and challenging for the stewards, I'm sure, to keep on top of everything.
Oh, absolutely. But the field stringing out just a little bit. That number 8 car of Harvey is really a huge amount of history in that car. It's a past national championship winning car in F production and E production in the Prather family, run in GT Lite last year by, I believe, Michael Chameleon, and now Taz Harvey. So lots and lots of mileage on that car. It looks like he's getting up to speed. Looked a little nervous on the first lap, but better now.
We'll see the field coming around to cross the start-finish line for the first time. A nice clean start and a gap of a 1.5 seconds for Ermish over Huffaker after 1 lap. And then another couple of seconds back to Zeckert in 3rd. This is something we talked about. The field from about 4th on back to 11th is very tight. And then we've got Ermish and Huffaker up at the front, and at least if qualifying pace is any indication, they've got the measure of the field. The best battles could be behind them, but I think we're a bit surprised to see a gap this big between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, definitely a commanding opening lap from Ermish there, but 3.5 seconds advantage back to 3rd. So the top 2 checking out, and it looks like Harvey able to get back around Zeckert there finally. Zecker looks back to the inside. He's in a little bit deep.
Yeah, this battle's not done yet. Coming through the carousel, now it becomes a battle with 3 cars in the mix, as Goodale's now right there on the tail end of Zeckert, who's dropped back into 4th in that white number 45. That has allowed Harvey to pull ahead now, and looking to the inside coming into turn number 7. Can Goodale make the move? It looks like he cannot. That is one of those places on this track that, yes, it's a good passing zone, but if you can get a nice run out of that turn, it's a place you can defend as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a good opportunity to make a move, but it's also a mistake opportunity. It's really interesting when you come, and we've said this track, TV doesn't do it justice. Huge amount of elevation. That braking zone up into turn 7 is actually a big rise. It's where the drag cars from the drag strip get to go uphill to slow down. And the turn-in for that point not only has no reference for braking marker, but you can't see the turn-in point or that first apex.
Joe Harlan now getting up into the mix as well as the field comes around, and Harlan opportunistic, swings to the inside in turn 11. We've got a side-by-side battle coming through the 12th turn. Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd heats up once again.
I think I just saw the 77 of Huffaker off the inside of 11. We'll look for confirmation on that, but I did see the silhouette of an MG Midget pulling to the inside of that corner.
Oh, and what a costly and frustrating eventuality that would be, and it does look like that might be the case as he's gone plummeting down on our timing and scoring screens. Hopefully we can get an update on that from Hayward down in the pits, and perhaps locate the car on track with our cameras as well. A couple of laps in, and already a huge development here, and you can see it on the screens. Heartbreak for Joe Huffaker, who had his eyes on winning another national championship in this race. Not really sure what the cause of it might be at this stage, as he has a word with the safety crew there. Meanwhile, let's drop back a little bit further in the field. I guess this actually becomes the battle for 2nd now that Huffaker has dropped out. That has allowed Ermish to open up a lead of 8.5 seconds after just 2.5 laps. Actually, that was at the stripe, so just 2 laps. As we expected, the battle was fierce behind him, but Ermish is well on his way.
Big lunge from Joe Harlan to pick up that 4th spot over Jonathan Goodale.
So that battle continues throughout this portion of the field. 4th, 5th, or 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th right there, all within a shout. and putting on a show for the fans. You've talked some about these various cars, some of which have been converted from other classes. How much work goes into making those conversions and making them applicable here in GTL?
These are, like I said, these are full race cars, so there's definitely a lot of work, a lot of crew involved for some of the cars, and others are just run just the one guy. So I think Peter Zeckert's definitely in that as he's looking up on the inside or outside of Taz Harvey. But these are definitely high-strung race cars. They don't make a ton of power. They're very small displacement. They run pretty skinny tires, and that's what keeps them running the pace that they're running. But they're definitely high-strung. Some of them, like I said, sequential gearboxes, bodywork. Ooh, over-under for Zeckert there on screen. The 45 car goes up to the second spot.
We see them trade that position a couple of times throughout this race. It seems like each of those cars have strengths and weaknesses at different parts of the track, and it's led to this seesaw battle between the two. So right now, advantage Zeckert, and all of a sudden, we see Harvey. He's got his hands full with Harlan right on his back bumper. Harlan taking a peek to the inside through the carousel, and that opens the door to the outside now. Great bit racing here as Goodale takes a peek there. Can't make it stick, and so they'll drop into single file. Meanwhile, once again, Zeckert is going to have to defend as we've got an issue with one of our back markers who has pulled off the course.
I believe that's the 66 of Bill Blust. Big lockup, though, for Goodale into 7. Harlan takes a look to the inside of Harvey, and Zeckert is getting away a little bit. These guys might have to keep in mind they're racing for second if they're smart. If they race each other too hard, they're going to be racing for third.
So it looks like that was Bill Blust who's pulled off the track. Great story. His son actually bought him that race car. He had retired in 2006, effectively. Came out of retirement to race at Indy last year and figured he'd keep it up. He had so much fun, so he's back here this year. He told me he just wanted to have a lot of fun here because, in his words, the car is better than he is. But unfortunately, things seem to have gone awry here early as we've got bumper-to-bumper battling, and perhaps a problem for the number 8 machine of Harvey. That Mazda pulling off to the inside appears to be off the pace.
Looks like he thinks he might be okay now, joining back again. That's where we saw Huffaker pull off, but that's going to promote Zeckert back into the second spot, Harlan into third. These guys spreading out a little bit as Goodale got into the back of Harvey there through the apex of 11.
So the race calms down just a little bit, but haven't had a whole lot of time to breathe as we see Blust car off to the outside of the track, the driver's right portion. Meanwhile, we've got an update on pit lane from Hayward.
Guys, you might have missed it. Taz Harvey just went straight off the end of the front straightaway into the cut-through. That car sounded to me on the start like it was down a gear, maybe. It was losing momentum in a couple of different places of the course. Also, I talked to the crew with Joe Huffaker. They believe he broke a diff. I don't know if you found it on camera. It's right in front of the drag tower. But he's leaned up against the wall having a water.
All right, well, that's disappointing news there, surely. But thank you very much for the update. Meanwhile, here we go. 14 seconds, nearly 15, the difference between our race leader, Troy Ermish, and Zeckert running in that second spot. And it has calmed down a little bit, second, third, and fourth. Zeckert, Harlan, and Goodale. What have you seen from these three so far, Tom, in terms of their relative strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I think definitely seeing some strength play out from the aero cars. That's Harlan and Goodale. You notice they have a lot more aerodynamic work done to those cars than Zeckert, and that seems to be hurting Zeckert down the run of the S's from 7 into 10. That's where we saw Harvey as well pull up big time from a gap that Zeckert had built, and then it all went away through those S's. So Zeckert is going to be fighting tooth and nail to hold on to that second spot, but looking down a little further in the field as well, there's Ermish still holding down the lead. Some of the faster cars are actually in 5th and 6th spots of Leonard and Copley, so that battle might come even closer together. We might end up with 4 or 5 cars battling again.
That should be a lot of fun to keep an eye on, as right now our cameras are all on Troy Ermish. A great look coming up the hill, a huge elevation climb through this portion of the racetrack. In all around this track, it's 160 feet of elevation change around the 2.52 mile circuit, but the climb from the apex of from turn 1 to the apex of turn 2 alone is 104 feet. I think the cameras do a pretty good job of showing that, but there's nothing quite like seeing it in person. And the challenge that presents behind the wheel, it makes it very difficult because you can't see what's on the other side.
Absolutely, and that's where the SCCA volunteers waving those flags are so critical. But it's so cool. You stand at the top of the grandstands there at the start-finish line, where they take the green flag, and then you turn around and you're looking up into the apex of turn 1. You're not even above where that turn 1 is. Cool bridge you can stand on there as the cars go underneath you. But as you said, it's a big rise. It's also got a lot of bumps through that section. There's really only one groove, as we see this battle developing back a little bit in the field.
Yeah, it's Chris Dudson in the 73 car, a little bit further back in the 03 Mini right there. That's Chris Copley, the Bridgeport, Connecticut native. He's doing battle down with Charles Leonard. So just like you said, Tom, we've seen further back in the field this battle really heating up. And again, the diversity of the class is on full display here with that Mini showing the way in this group of 3, but it is some tight racing.
Yeah, that Mini there on screen, that is Copley. He was quick on track. These guys, if they stay tucked in together, they may be able to run down Zeckert, Harlan, and Goodale. But that Mini, a little front-wheel drive, some tube frame work going under that car, and then the Nissan behind, a full tube frame car, a little bit of aero on there you see, and then the CRX at the back. That's going to be a front-wheel drive, I think, production tub CRX. So big variety as these guys racing hard for that 5th spot.
3 wide there for a moment, and we saw towards the back of that, Dudson effectively bailing out of it to make sure he avoided any contact. Heads-up decision this early in the race. It's still a relatively short race in the grand scheme of things, but 14 laps to go. There's still some sense of urgency.
Absolutely, yeah, only 6 laps done, so these guys have plenty of time to sort this out.
So Copley up to the 5th spot now. That moves Leonard back to 6th. That's changed since the last time through. This battle again is 5th, 6th, and 7th as it runs on track right now at Sonoma Raceway. So it looks like we're going to see, well, we've got a car coming into the pits here a little bit further back. That's Craig Carter in a 2002 Nissan Sentra. The Tracy, California native is making his way to pit lane. That's never a good sign in a race of this length, and hopefully we'll have an update from Hayward as the race on track continues, headed down into turn number 7. Defending on the inside is Leonard, trying to keep Dudson behind him. Dudson late on the brakes around the outside, trying to make that outside move work, and a sudden loss of speed there from Leonard, and you kind of wonder what happened. He's pulled off track.
Yeah, this is, as we talked about, these are really high-strung cars, and you see attrition always plays into some of these races, and it looks like a mechanic. Oh, a big spin and a big impact for the 73 car.
That is a big hit. That is Dudson that we were just talking about a few moments ago. He has made heavy contact with the wall. We stay green for now. Has that car fired up again, but you can see a great deal of damage to the left front and also the rear of that car. Losing the bumper there as he returns to the track. It looks like we've got a replay. What do you see, Tom?
It just looks like he may have overcommitted on the entry and lifted, or potentially a mechanical failure, but a quick snap. Those CRXs, front-wheel drive, short wheelbase, that can happen with those cars. Good to see that he's obviously okay and trying to drive the car away so the race can continue. But he was one of the quick cars in that 5th place battle.
Yeah, we were just talking about him indeed, and speaks to the safety requirements from the SCCA to see him okay and driving away. It looks like he's brought that car to a stop, and his 2018 runoffs are done. But attrition, like you said, that's been a big storyline of this race so far. We saw Huffaker earlier with issues, outside pole sitter in this race. He dropped out in the early going, a guy that we expected to contend, and a few other early contenders have dropped by the wayside as well.
Yeah, Harvey, and then the 14 car of Leonard dropping out. So these, like we said, they're high-strung car. This is the battle for 9th now, looking at Bunbury and Toomey. Front-wheel drive Honda Civic with that aerodynamic work done to it. Looks like, and then a very, very production-shaped MR2.
And 1986 Toyota MR2 for Toomey, the Tacoma, Washington native. Pat's Autosport, Top Tech Motorsports sponsors on that car. Like you said, that is back in the 9th and 10th positions, with Bunbury holding down the 9th spot just ahead. Coming through the carousel section now. Up front, it's worth noting that Ermish's lead last time by was 22 seconds. He just completed his 8th lap, and we're waiting for Zeckert to come around in the 2nd spot and cross that timing line. Last time around, it was about a 1.5 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. But here on our screens, it's 9th and 10th doing battle in the runoffs. And sure, everyone here, they'd love to come away with a gold medal, but in a lot of ways, it's about the experience. And one of the great things about many of these classes is you're almost guaranteed to find somebody in a similar speed category as you are, and you're going to have someone to race with for a full 20 laps.
Absolutely, yeah. These guys, this is the battle for second on screen, but there's plenty of drivers here with the expectation to win or the hope to win. There's plenty of people that they're happy to be here. This is the destination. They've done the journey of the racing all year. You have to qualify for the runoffs through SCCA club races, 3 races minimum through the year. So there's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of investment into just being here. And you'll talk to every person in the paddock that thinks they're going to go win this race, and they're excited about the opportunity to go win the race. The guy right next to him is just thrilled to take that green flag or take the checkered flag.
Here we have our shot of 2nd and 3rd. That's Zeckert running in the 2nd position in the number 45. Harlan back in 3rd in the 80. Again, about a second or so between these two cars, and it's been pretty stable right there. And while right now this is the battle for the 2nd spot on the podium, given the level of attrition we've seen, you're one bit of misfortune away from the race leader from being in a battle for the lead, as we've got contact further back in the field. That sends the number 98 around. Try and see exactly what happened there to Roy Lopshire.
Yeah, looked like an unfortunate moment, just trying to squeeze by a lapped car there, I believe, of that yellow Mini. And then contact squeeze between the wall and the Mini. He's going to be able to bail out. These guys doing a really good job of making sure this race stays clean as we come up on half distance. But that 98 car was knocking on the door of the top 5, so unfortunate squeeze there.
Roy, one of the SCCA lifers in a lot of ways. He told me he last ran here at this track either in 1977 or 1978, but he also added it hasn't changed a whole lot since then. So some of that knowledge did transfer over, but looks like some misfortune for him now as we've got O'Kell battling for 7th right now with the 93 of Meyer. And right now, advantage O'Kell. He just moved up that position. Yeah,
good move down into really the only one of 2 braking opportunities, one of the more straightforward passing opportunities on this track. But check out the size difference of these cars. We talked about variety, but those cars, it's like two of the midget there, or the Sprite there, could fit in the Toyota. A lot more aero work on the Toyota is, I think now that's Meyer going to work on getting that position back from the 5 car.
Right now, O'Kell has that position. As you can see on the screen there, that is for 6th position. That's where O'Kell runs right now, closing in on the top 5, although he's got about 18 seconds to try and run down Copley, who's in that 5th spot at the moment. Here we go with a replay of the contact. What did you see, Tom?
Yeah, it looked like just a little bit of unawareness from the Mini, but also the 98 car had a little bit more room, so I don't know that that incident was really necessary, but this is a long race. These guys don't always, like I said, they race 3 times a year minimum to be here. Those races tend to be shorter than this runoffs race. These cars and these drivers may not be used to just running this long, but just kind of an awkward moment between those 2 cars there as one was getting lapped by the other.
And as we get into the second half of this race, it's kind of uncharted territory for many of these guys. The test sessions and qualifying sessions have been relatively short to accommodate nearly 500 cars. So really everyone's guessing what the tires are going to feel like, how the car is going to be handling once we get into the second half of these races.
Yeah, looking at Troy Ermish now holding down the lead, and he's very much settled into a race pace. We saw his fast lap happen very early on, 1:49.4, and that's going to be a new track record for Troy Ermish in that Datsun 510, but he settled into about the same pace as the rest of the podium right now. He's got a comfortable 25-second lead, though, so he can trust that he can manage that pace, not push the car too hard, and bring this one home as long as he doesn't suffer any of that other attrition that we've seen so common in this race.
You mentioned that track record. It was set by Troy back on the 1st of July for this class, a 1:51.217. His best lap so far today, a 1:49.458. So he's got it, and by a pretty wide margin. So if you can set a track record and win a runoffs, and granted we've got a ways to go still, so not trying to throw any kind of hex Troy's way, but that would make for a pretty awesome weekend.
It would, and I'm seeing very smart driving from Troy right now. You look at the way he's coming off corners, the lines he's choosing. There's no drama. It's very, very clean. You can tell he's not having to work very hard to maintain this pace. The big pressure we expected from Joe Huffaker isn't there with that unfortunate breakage. So Troy just really has to focus on not making any mistakes like we saw earlier from lapped cars and not pushing this car mechanically too hard as he sweeps onto the halfway point, 9 to go.
A little bit further back in the field, it looks like Leonard has moved his way up into the 8th spot. That might be an improvement of 2 positions if I'm reading the timing and scoring correctly. So he's on a man on the move. Back to Erbish, though, who you see on screen right now. He was 2nd in this class in the Western Conference back in 2015, 5th this season, and he did win a race in majors competition at this track back in July. So it really comes as no surprise that he's showing what he's made of, especially given the local connections. We talked about that a lot throughout the week, that there are a lot of folks here who have a built-in advantage because a lot of the East Coast guys don't get out this way very often.
Sure, over 100 drivers here this weekend from California. This is, I think, on nearly 100 runoffs rookies, or over 100 runoffs rookies as well. So this is very much a special experience for those that lived on the western third of the country. The runoffs tend to try to rotate around in the last couple of years, central, east coast, and now back to the west coast. But other than Laguna Seca, the runoffs hadn't been to the west coast since the mid-60s. So these guys kind of licking their chops at the opportunity to wear that gold medal.
Looking further back here, this is Twomey running in the 10th position right now in that Toyota. We've seen him up in the mix in the back half of the top 10, a little bit further up ahead. This is the number 135. That's Bunbury running in 9th at the moment. And you can see the gap there from Bunbury to Leonard. That's who he's chasing, and we've seen Leonard moving up a couple of spots here in the last few laps. He's a guy on the move, and man, when you can start stringing those passes together and making up ground midway through the race, it's a pretty good feeling.
Absolutely. Something interesting that we'll watch throughout this weekend, not only in this race but others that we didn't necessarily see in qualifying. If you look at some of the camera angles, you can see just how dirty this track gets just offline, and then you see the way the sun hits the surface, how polished it is online. We've talked a lot about how these drivers need to get the tires into operating temperature, into operating condition. This track is very polished. You can see here it's shiny right on that line, and that's actually the tire slides across that surface, kind of flat slides, and doesn't either overheat the tire, or you talk to other drivers, they can't even get heat in the tires the way they want. So on top of getting dirty offline, that's going to affect your ability to go side by side, but it's also affecting how these drivers are running in, like you said, long distance. They've seen short qualifying sessions. They're going for a fast lap so far this week, especially if they haven't been to this track before for a race as the 93 car comes onto the front straight. These guys don't necessarily know how it's going to affect their car over a full 20-lap run.
It's Bill Meyer, the number 93 right now. 8 laps to go in this 20-lap race. Up front, really nothing has changed. Troy Ermish still showing the way. That lead has dwindled a little bit, but it's still pretty healthy at 21.5 seconds over Zeckert, who now has a shade under 5 seconds in hand over Harlan in the battles to complete the podium there. On our screen, we've got the 6th place runner. That's Bill O'Kell. He's trying to hold off Bill Meyer in the 93 that's running in 7th. Bill O'Kell, an interesting story. He was talking to me a little bit about this car of his, the 1992 Austin Healey Sprite, and it is a Huffaker prepared car. So you know he's got the machinery under him, and he feels very confident in that machinery, and for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, looking at the times right now, down through O'Kell, who's running in the 6th spot, the slowest car in the top 6 is the leader, Ermish. So I suspect, like I've been talking about, that's some smart driving, just making sure the equipment's going to last. He's got 20 seconds in hand over the 2nd place car of Zeckert. Harlan had been making a good run on Zeckert, coming back within a second of him, but now Zeckert has found some speed and pulled that back out to almost 4 seconds over Joe in the 3rd spot.
I'll put this to you. If you're in Troy Ermish's position and you've got this lead and it is starting to come down a little bit, is that something you want to be aware of, or would you rather just focus on what you're doing?
Absolutely. I want to be aware of the other cars' gaps towards where I am on track, but that is definitely personal preference. Some drivers just want to have the horse blinders on and keep driving. Ermish slowing down by another full second there, so he's losing seconds off of his lead, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that, again, just managing the last 7 laps of this race so that he can get that gold medal.
Right there, that is Copley in the 0-3. Copley running in 5th right now.
Yeah, Copley a little quicker than the 4th place car of Goodale on the last lap, and those cars only about 4 seconds apart on the track. You see a little bit of body damage to the front of that Mini Cooper, but clearly not slowing him down too bad as he focuses on catching the 0-4 MX-5 of Goodale.
Copley made his Runoffs debut at Indianapolis last year, finished 9th in class, so looking to improve upon that. The native of Bridgeport, Connecticut, had probably one of the longer toes of anybody in the paddock.
Absolutely.
But that speaks to the significance of this event. It's one that he dipped his toe in the water at Indianapolis and probably wasn't thinking too much about making a trek to California, but got that experience, realized what it's all about, and it's one of those, you talk to so many people and they've been to 15 in a row, 20 in a row. That's not uncommon, which speaks volumes about the importance of the Runoffs.
Absolutely, and a special experience for drivers who have not been not only to the West Coast, but to this track. This track is incredible to behold from the perspective of a spectator, but also incredible to drive from the driver's perspective.
Looks like a little damage to the left front of the car there for Copley. The fender a little bit loose. In what way would you expect that would affect that race car, if at all?
Could be a little bit of aerodynamic effect for sure, and this track is special or unique in that it doesn't have a long straight shot. There is a long on-throttle period as you come out of turn 7 down through 8, 9, and 10. That is a flat-out run in a lot of these cars, but it isn't straight, so these guys are turning left and right, left and right. That's going to make the aerodynamics of the car important from a downforce perspective, but this damage is going to be a top speed effect. It's a pretty low top speed track, so I don't expect that that's going to be affecting him too much.
One of the things that a lot of the drivers will say is there are not many times around this track that you have the wheel pointed straight.
Yes.
You are always making little adjustments one way or another to navigate these corners. There's officially 12 of them around the track, and with all the elevation change, blind corners, different apexes, it's a challenging track for sure. As we take a look now at our 3rd place runner, that's Harlan in the 3rd position, and the gap between 2nd and 3rd has come down a little bit. It's down to 3 seconds, I should say. So Harlan doing a little bit of work to try and reel in Zeckert. That could quickly become the best battle on the track, and certainly the bragging rights, 2nd versus 3rd, it makes a big deal of difference.
He's finishing up the 6th lap. There's the gap, 2nd to 3rd. Almost a second faster on the track last lap for Harlan in the 80 car as he turns in for turn 11. They're going to have 5 laps to go. It's a pretty long time in these cars as it's nearly 2 minutes per lap. Ermish picking up the pace at the front of the field, but it is Zeckert who looks to be floundering just a little bit. We'll see what this lap time is as they cross, but visibly close, and a little bit of dust or debris out of the back of the 45 car as he sweeps up into turn 2.
Any idea what that might be? This is a pretty dusty racetrack.
It is a dusty track, but he was online, so we'll have to watch and see if that perhaps was a mechanical puff of smoke or loss of fluid. Almost another 7/10 Joe Harlan takes out of Peter Zeckert.
Joe Harlan, a race winner at this track in SCCA Majors competition back in July as well. The native of Oregon City, Oregon. In his Top Tech Motorsports Hoosier Tire Nissan 240SX. Trying to close that gap and get there up into the 2nd position if he can get by Zeckert. Zeckert's been a busy guy in this race. He's been making about as many passes as anybody in the top 10. And I see that smoke now, or at least dust or something coming out of that car. Did you get a good look at that?
Yeah, it's the same we saw through turn 1, and it's coming right out of the center of the car when he's on the racing line, which tells me it's not just dust from the track, but it is something from underneath that car. He's only got 5 laps to go, losing a little bit of time per sector to Joe Harlan. He's definitely closing in now. Harlan got him fully in sights. That's really motivating as the chasing driver. You have the rabbit, you want to get it.
That gap has visibly closed. They're in the same camera shot now for the first time in quite a few laps. It looks like Zeckert is going to pull to the inside just a little bit. Right now, Harlan going to be patient, and that's probably the smart thing if you see the car in front of you ailing a little bit, not forcing the issue. But as I say that, a very aggressive move to the outside and falling back in line.
Yeah, Zeckert also a little bit of opposite lock through the corner. The car got loose on him at the apex, so the car also not handling the best. Potentially also the mechanical issue, we've been watching the back. That car has a side exhaust, so that's not directly out of the exhaust. That's somewhere underneath the car. But it is Harlan has the pace right now. If he can get by Peter, I think he'll drive away.
We'll see if he can do that. Joe Harlan taking a look to the left now. Will tuck in line, climbing these hills. Again, huge elevation change. Now the big drop down into the carousel. And we'll see if he can make the move. Taking a lunge up the inside. We've got contact, and around goes your third place runner in Harlan. Spins it back to the inside. The good news for him is there was a pretty big gap to fourth. We'll see just how big in a moment as Harlan gets it going. But we saw a flash of yellow a moment ago. And I think that is Goodale there running in the fourth spot. Now making a look to the inside.
Yeah, Jonathan Goodale, a huge opportunity there as Harlan tries to get the tires clean, get back up to pace, but comes back around the outside. He's been much quicker than Goodale in the last couple of laps, and see if he can get there. Looks like no damage from the contact, but definitely surprised by how early Zeckert got on the brakes. Just got a little too hot in the corner. Goodale looking like he's struggling for grip in the MX-5, and Harlan looks like he'll escape pretty quickly.
And a replay coming up shortly. Tell us, what do you think of this move? He came from a long way back.
Yeah, definitely optimistic. Barely got alongside and quick contact there. Got up on the curb and goes around. Did a good job of keeping the car in gear and running. No stall. It looks like he'll stay on the podium spot for now, as there's a good look at Goodale dropping back already from the back of Harlan.
Yep, falling off now by 5 or 6 car lengths, it would appear, perhaps a little bit further back. But how about the job by Harlan to spin around, dirty tires, but put it all behind you, because he was immediately under assault and did what he had to do to hold on to that podium position.
Yeah, I think we saw some struggles from Peter Zeckert, struggling for grip. We saw him get sideways through 11, so potentially just woeing up the braking zones a little bit, trying to back everything up, keep that car under him, and then surprising Harlan a little bit with how early he got on the brakes, and Harlan nowhere to go, either directly into the back of Peter or go for that little bit of a gap. Good heads-up driving by both to get through it with minimal incident.
Interesting. Looks like Zeckert must be struggling, because even with the spin, now Harlan is still only 3.5, a little more than 3.5 seconds back in the third spot, if timing and scoring is right. And there you see it on the screen. You can see just how close it still remains between second and third. So a bit of a reprieve for Zeckert, but it doesn't last all that long. Meanwhile, Ermish is all by himself. That skirmish a few moments ago has allowed him to open up a 30-second lead in this SCCA Runoffs National Championship race for GTL. Got to be a good feeling when you know you've got, what is it, about a quarter of a lap or thereabouts in hand?
Absolutely, yeah, and this will be potentially one of the biggest gaps we see of victory here at the Runoffs. But Ermish, I've been watching lap times, continues to just click off that 154, 155 lap time, driving super smart, making sure that he can bring home this championship. And then the other drivers behind, I think you're right, Zeckert still struggling. Harlan might have another shot at this, and Goodale might even get a shot at the podium.
Comes around to complete another lap. 2 laps to go now in our GTL race. And up front, Troy Ermish all by his lonesome. He's done a nice job, primarily off camera, because we've had some good racing further back, but he's had to get through lap traffic in this race. He's had no real issues with that. His closest challenger, Joe Huffaker, had issues in the first couple of laps and really dropped away. And Ermish, to his credit, hasn't let that phase him in any way. He hasn't let the concentration lapse, and right now a commanding lead in GTL.
Harlan and Goodale together on track. I'm looking for the 45 of Zeckert, and I don't see him on screen. Yes, Harlan up to second, Goodale in third, Zeckert potentially off track as he continues to plummet down the timesheet in front of us.
Well, Tom, you saw it and called it out early. There was that little puff of smoke that we saw out of that car, and you have to wonder if the two things might be connected, which is a real shame because Zeckert had himself a really nice run running in that second spot for the bulk of the race, and survived a couple of close calls as well early on, but has dropped to at least the 6th spot. Not sure if he's made his way back around the track yet. So now all of a sudden our battle for the 2nd spot is between Harlan and Goodale. And Goodale, to his credit, has latched on to the back of Harlan and won't let go.
Yeah, it looks like Harlan overdriving the entry to some of these corners. He's in pretty deep, potentially some handling issues with the car or just driving in his mirrors. But Goodale was much faster the last lap around. These guys are running almost identical sector times now. This battle for the podium isn't over yet.
This is one of the prime passing zones on the track. For now, Harlan is able to hold on. About a lap and a half to go. If you're Goodale, where do you make this move, Tom?
I think he's got enough time to sit back and watch exactly where he can make his move. I don't see a spot where one is stronger than the other. I think it's based on mistakes. As long as Harlan can keep that car online and not open the door for Goodale, I think he's good. Goodale, though, showing some speed as we get confirmation that Zeckert did just pull off the track.
It's a real shame. Sorry to hear that news as the battle continues in second. Meanwhile, up front, Troy Ermish just took the white flag. He is on his way on the last lap of the race with less than a lap to go to clinch a national championship. Battle for second on the podium. Harlan and Goodale continues. Goodale got close there under braking in turn number 11, but couldn't get the job done. Just a couple more opportunities left here on this final lap, 2.5 miles.
Harlan definitely aware that Goodale is there. He's turning into the corners pretty early. Looks like he's making sure that there's no opportunity for Goodale to get up the inside. Doing a good job of managing that gap and staying just far enough ahead that Goodale can't make the lunge. Sweeping up through 3 and over the crest of 3A. This is the opportunity for mistake, I think, on this lap, getting overslowed. He does a good job, gets the car rotated, and it's Goodale that overshoots the corner just a little bit, kicks up the dust, loses some of that gap, and that might be the mistake that Harlan needed to hold the P2 spot.
Provides some much-needed breathing room to Harlan. Gap now 5-6 car lengths back to third place in Goodale.
Goodale fast through turn 5, though. He's closed all of that mistake gap up, and that's the corner we've seen Harlan struggle in a little bit. Harlan defending inside as we look to Ermish taking into the last corner.
We'll check back on that battle for second in a moment, but let's give a round of applause. Troy Ermish, what a drive. Flag to flag for him. The Tracy, California native has one more turn left to navigate this left-hander, turn number 12 at Sonoma Raceway. And there's the checkered flag. Troy Ermish is your GTL national champion at the 2018 SCCA Runoffs at Sonoma Raceway. A much-deserved round of applause from the quarter workers as he makes his way around. We'll be talking with him after the race. Hayward Wagner down on pit lane, but let's go back now to the battle for second. Harlan defending to the inside. Goodale taking a look to the outside. Can he get the jump out of the corner that he needs? Close a lot of the ground that he needs to there, but not quite enough. It looks like Harlan's going to have enough to hold him off coming through turn number 2 and to the stripe. Second place to Harlan. Goodale completing the podium in third, but what a battle those two put on for us all race long.
Yeah, and check that out. Great camaraderie between these drivers. Thumbs up, pointing. Those guys were having a blast. And check out, Goodale is thrilled to be on the podium here at the Runoffs.
That he is. That's the emotion of this event. It's great to see, and just what this means to everyone. Jonathan Goodale there in the number 4 machine. Great finish for him. Started in the 6th spot, just quietly made his way back up the field, and man, when some people had some issues, he was there to pounce.
That's what it's about, being able to capitalize on opportunity. But a great run from Troy Ermish. The national championship gold medal goes to the Datsun 510, the local driver here. Put in the commanding opening lap, gapped Joe Huffaker, and then when the Huffaker car broke, he just drove the smart race, making sure it didn't take any risks, and brought it home.
That he did, and look at that fist pump in the car. You can see what this means to the Tracy, California native. One of the ones tabbed to be a contender. Home track advantage, certainly a part of that, but you have to get it done behind the wheel, and Troy certainly did that. Also setting a new SCCA GTL track record along the way, a 1:49.458. That was about 2 seconds under the existing track record that he had set a few months ago. So all in all, an excellent performance from Troy Ermish. This is one he's going to be talking about for a long time, and he certainly deserves it. Looking forward to hearing his thoughts and his emotions on this achievement here in a few minutes. Before we get to him, though, Tom, your impressions of what we saw in GTL today?
I think the big story really was the attrition, and this is, we know, a challenging track for the drivers, but it's a long race for these cars, and a lot of them are high strung. So as we see these races unfold over the entire weekend, hopefully that attrition is not a consistent storyline, but it definitely played a big part in this race, not only for the win, but for the podium positions all the way down through the top 10.
You can see Hayward there leaning in with the congratulatory message. And we'll talk to him here in just a moment. Troy Ermish, your national champion in GTL. Harlan and Goodale coming home in second and third. And let's go down to pit lane and Hayward Wagner.
Troy, you said at the beginning of the race that you can't plan for these. On the way to the grid, your wife fell off a golf cart, hurt her knee to get you the communication device you needed. Nothing seems to have gone according to plan until you took that green flag.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Kent Stacy, Rebello Racing, 510 Parts Outlet, my wife, my friends, my crew chief. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for them. And we were losing oil pressure the last half of the race, and I had to short shift and limp and limp and limp. I think the oil level was low in the tank because every left hand or the shift light or the oil pressure light was coming on. Man, I'm just happy I made it. I can't believe it.
I heard you say earlier in the week that you wanted to get this car back on track because of all the people that had helped you get here. Tell me about the people that you need to thank.
Rebello Racing worked for an entire week. They dynoed 3 different engines. They put 300 poles on all the motors, trying to get me the very best piece possible. My car chief, Patrick, 2 hours of sleep, putting the car back together with me. And my wife, having all the understanding and the drive to be successful like I do. It's just a total package, and I love it, and I can't wait to do it again.
Well, you get to take one more lap, and this time with a checkered flag in your hand. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Pure emotion in victory lane. Great stuff from Troy Ermish, and he talked about it. It does take that full support system to be successful racing at this level.
Yeah, I can't tell you how motivating it is as a driver to have that network of people around you, and you want to succeed for them because the driver is the one in the car, but it's the number of bodies that are around you really doing that hard work. And Ermish had plenty of opportunity this week to go, well, it's just not meant to be. This isn't our year. Crashing in qualifying, having mechanical issues during the race, but you push through it. Those people who make it happen for you, you hear the emotion in his voice. That's what makes it really, really special.
You saw the top 10 flash on the screen a moment ago, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, but Hayward has the rest of our podium.
Guys, you were talking about the emotion here, and you're seeing it right now. Joe Harlan. I don't think these guys could have been any happier if they were further up the podium. You took a shot there. You took a shot to try to move up a spot. Talk to me about the turn 4.
Guys, or the non-local guys. I mean, the guys that are here are just badass fast, and you got to congratulate them for it. But us out-of-towners put on a heck of a show.
Talk to me about your race. You had a couple of nervous moments.
I had a couple of nervous moments. I actually went down inside of Peter into 4 and spun the thing all the way around. Caught a gear, got back in the throttle, and came out in front of John, and I had just enough momentum to get away from him a little bit. I cannot believe what we just did.
Well, congratulations on a second place.
2 years building this car, and it worked. It worked. And I want to say this race is to my daughter, Tara.
Awesome. Congratulations.
All right, thanks.
All right, we're going to grab Jonathan Goodale. Jonathan, come on over. Hayward, you're not happy, are you? You've got a Runoffs podium before, right?
Yeah, third at Laguna.
Tell me, you're a second-generation guy. You grew up in this club. Your parents are royalty in this organization. What does it mean to you to have a Runoffs podium here?
I can't even, after the week I've had, I can't even put it into words. You know, I've had not a great season, but I got here and talk about the culmination of a whole year to end up on the podium here. I can't ask for anything better. I cannot ask for anything better. This has been such an awesome event. My hat's off to SCCA for doing such an awesome job with the event, with some of the fog and power issues they've had. But man, what a great day. We're in California. I'm on the podium.
Can't get much better than that. Congratulations on your bronze.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was awesome. Look at that emotion. That's what this event is all about, and we talk about it, and sometimes you think maybe it's just a cliche, but it's not. The guys who finish on the podium, they can be just as happy as the guy who wins, and that goes on back to the guy who finishes 20th in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are all thrilled. It was such a close race all the way across the board there for the podium. Just really, really, really cool stuff.
Wild start here on the race. Joe Huffaker, who we thought was going to be a contender, dropped by the wayside early. Here's some more great racing a little bit further back in the field. Troy Ermish was able to pull away and really controlled this race, but we had some moments, certainly. That was Dudson with the issue going back into, I think that was turn number 7. Thankfully, he was able to get out of that race car after a big impact, gives the thumbs up. That's good to see. Maybe the most dramatic moment of the race right here.
Absolutely. Such exciting stuff between Goodale there and Harlan, and then Zeckert with the breakage, heartbreak at the end, but it is Troy Ermish that comes out on top.
So Troy Ermish is your GTL national champion at the 2018 SCCA Runoffs here at Sonoma Raceway. For Tom O'Gorman and also Hayward Wagner down on pit road, I'm Ryan Marine. Thanks so much for joining us in our presentation of the SCCA Runoffs presented by Mazda.